So what does that mean to you? Kawhi Leonard's $28 million fraud controversy has plunged the Clippers into turmoil. What started as murmurs of dubious side agreements has escalated into a significant crisis for the team. When Kawhi's coach, Tyronn Lue, was asked for clarification, his uncomfortable response, along with Kawhi's lack of comment, only intensified the uproar. Let's analyze the situation. The tale begins. The $28 million fraud controversy tied to Kawhi Leonard didn't initiate with him, but rather with a financial venture named Aspiration. Launched in 2013 by affluent investor and political contributor Joe Sandberg alongside former Bill Clinton wordsmith Andre Cherney, the firm marketed itself as a socially responsible green fintech institution. It offered consumers a means to combat climate change through ordinary banking practices, including debit cards that facilitated tree planting, carbon-neutral credit cards, and services that transformed spending into reforestation initiatives. This vision drew prominent celebrity supporters such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert Downey Jr., Drake, Cindy Crawford, and Orlando Bloom, who entered into lucrative endorsement contracts to champion its cause. By 2021, Aspiration secured over $600 million in investments, achieving a valuation of $2.3 billion and an impressive $300 million sponsorship deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, featuring advertisements on jerseys and branding at the upcoming Intuit Dome. They even pursued nearly $1 billion for naming rights, ultimately submitting a winning bid of $550 million. However, hidden behind its eco-friendly image, federal investigators later determined that Aspiration was involved in fraudulent activities that deceived investors, misallocated funds, and exaggerated its environmental achievements. The scandal eventually implicated co-founder letters. Documents revealed that in April 2022, Aspiration entered into a 4-year endorsement deal with Leonard's shell company, KL2, Aspire LLC, compensating him $7 million annually, totaling $28 million. A subsequent bankruptcy report revealed that $21 million had been disbursed prior to Aspiration's downfall, resulting in an outstanding debt of $7 million owed to Leonard. The arrangement appeared to be a standard celebrity endorsement on the surface. Leonard was supposed to advocate for the brand. However, several ex-employees of Aspiration informed Pablo Torres' podcast that Leonard failed to fulfill any obligations. He made no public appearances, didn't engage on social media, never provided interviews, and refrained from donning any Aspiration branding. Each KPI included an escape clause, meaning they didn't genuinely represent key performance indicators. If you sense that this doesn't resonate with you, or if it feels like an overwhelming request, or perhaps you're indifferent about our media roles and prefer not to don any gear, feel free to share your thoughts. But it's entirely fine if you choose to remain silent. Participation is not mandatory. Toy and his team meticulously examined countless records, Instagram images, press releases, and media articles. Remarkably, Leonard never publicly uttered the word Aspiration even once. In total, I discovered that Co-Islander has never mentioned Aspiration in public. Absolutely zero occurrences. Nothing. No duración. This stood in stark contrast to other stars. DiCaprio released comments applauding the goals of the initiative. Robert Downey Jr. voiced ads, encouraging individuals to lower their carbon footprint. Drake shared that its method was truly motivating. Even Doc Rivers, who coached Leonard, took part in the campaigns. In contrast, Kawhi remained inactive. Nonetheless, his earnings were the highest overall. The setup quickly aroused doubts about possible salary cap violations. According to NBA regulations, all player payments need to be transparently reported and accounted for within the salary cap. Organizations are prohibited from discreetly transferring funds through external sponsors. In 2019, amidst Leonard's free agency, the league had probed allegations that his uncle and agent, Dennis Robertson, pursued illicit benefits such as living arrangements, equity stakes, and endorsement from third parties. The Clippers maintained their innocence, yet the accusations re-emerged in Torrey's findings. Robertson was once more identified as the point of contact and negotiator for Leonard's Aspiration contract. The contract unveiled during Torrey's probe detailed the setup. This endorsement agreement commenced on April 1, 2022. The company will pay KL2, known as Kawhi, a total of $28 million in cash throughout the duration of this contract. Each year of the term, the company will disburse $7 million to KL2. Leonard's signature was found alongside CEO Andre Cherney. The specified address for all legal matters was noted as care of Dennis Robertson. However, regarding the provided address for routing any legal notifications concerning Kawhi Leonard, what would it indicate? KL2 Aspire LLC, care of Dennis Robertson. Additionally, Uncle Dennis is mentioned in other sections of the contract as the appointed representative for his nephew. The timing of the deal raised eyebrows even further. In September 2021, Steve Balmer, owner of the Clippers, made a personal investment of $50 million in Aspiration. Just a few weeks after that, the Clippers unveiled a $300 million sponsorship deal with the same firm. Some months later, Leonard's LLC was established, alongside the signing of his endorsement contract. Former Aspiration finance officials stated that Balmer's investment provided the necessary liquidity for Leonard's payout. The transaction was depicted as a circular exchange. Balmer's funds were invested in a hopeful venture, subsequently channeling millions to Leonard. Based on the contracts and correspondence I've accessed, $50 million of this funding originated from Balmer's personal LLC. This substantial contribution of $50 million from Steve Balmer enabled the purportedly fraudulent Green Bank to readily compensate Kawhi Leonard with $28 million for what was said to be a no-show position. Although Balmer has claimed he was misled and had no knowledge of Leonard's agreement, competing NBA executives have labeled the arrangement as unparalleled. A seasoned general manager remarked to Torek that such an occurrence is unheard of. It's something I've never witnessed. Previous employees expressed it as a well-known secret within the company, chuckling at the blatant nature of the contract evasion. One noted, "We reviewed a series of agreements. And just so you know, we also have a $28 million arrangement with Kawhi. Refrained from inquiring, as it was designed to bypass the salary cap. We navigated through a series of elite contract agreements. Additionally, we secured a substantial $28 million marketing partnership with Kawhi Leonard. Should any doubts arise, the answer is essentially to avoid them, as it was meant to navigate the salary cap." LA was bustling with excitement whenever news broke. Leonard's earnings from endorsements overshadowed the rest. DiCaprio's share hit a whopping $57 million. Robert Downey Jr. received a payment of $68 million. In comparison, Drake made around $5 million. By contrast, Kawhi secured a cash payment of $28 million, alongside approximately $20 million in stock options, totaling up to $48 million. This figure was close to Balmer's $50 million contribution. This was notable considering Leonard's esteemed standing. He stands out as one of the NBA's most reserved and economical athletes, known for his understated presence and hesitance toward sponsorships. Tales of him navigating in a 10-year-old Chevy Tahoe and freaking out over misplaced free Wingstop coupons highlighted his indifference toward financial gain beyond the court. He seldom engages in public discourse and shuns promotional events. Still, he inked the largest contract in the Aspiration celebrity lineup without putting in the usual effort. This led to speculation about whether the Clippers had effectively bought Leonard's allegiance by channeling additional funds via Aspiration. Should that be the case, it would constitute a breach of NBA regulations concerning salary cap manipulation, which Commissioner Adam Silver has dubbed a fundamental transgression. By the beginning of 2025, hopes had diminished. Following its failure to meet its obligations for the Clippers sponsorship in 2022, Aspire sought Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in March 2025, declaring $500 million in debts while holding only $50 million in assets. The major creditors include the Clippers at $30 million, Balmer's 4 Entertainment at $11 million, and Leonard's KL2, Aspire LLC at $7 million. The downfall occurred alongside federal charges. Sandberg, holding a 70% stake in the firm, admitted to wire fraud in August 2025, admitting he misled investors out of more than $248 million. Legal authorities characterized the scheme as resembling a Ponzi operation, inflating financial status and misappropriating funds. The bankruptcy trustee claimed that transactions like Leonard's aimed not to enhance the brand, but to artificially boost valuations and lure new investments. An investigation by Pablo Torres, published on September 3, 2025, brought the matter to light. The situation is unmistakable. The Balmer tie, combined with Robertson's involvement. The news sparked rapid media attention and compelled the NBA to respond. On September 3rd, the league announced it had engaged an outside law firm to examine if the Clippers violated salary cap rules. The early reports underscored the gravity of the matter. Should the allegations be substantiated, the repercussions could entail hefty fines in the millions, loss of first-round draft selections, enforcement of penalties on Leonard's contracts, or suspensions affecting executives. Notable instances included the 2015 Clippers penalty for improper recruitment of DeAndre Jordan and the 2019 Pelicans sanction for tampering with Zion Williamson. For Leonard, this controversy hit at the core of his public persona. Celebrated as a 2-time Finals MVP, defensive stalwart, and reserve star, he was now drawn into a scandal that threatened to tarnish his image as a disciplined, steadfast competitor. For Balmer, it posed a significant threat to his reputation as the wealthiest owner in the NBA, who insisted he had been misled. The league faced a challenge to see if its salary cap framework could endure contemporary financial tactics. A hidden contract linked to an unsuccessful Green Bank unexpectedly became headline news, triggering immediate consequences. The repercussions. The aftermath of Pablo Torres' disclosures was swift. Just hours after his articles published on September 3, 2025, the Los Angeles Clippers found themselves caught in a turmoil of scandal. Headlines from ESPN, Yahoo, and CBS characterized the $28 million Kawhi Leonard Aspiration agreement as extraordinary, likening it to a tainted source within the NBA's green landscape. Tyronn Lue, the head coach of Leonard, stood before the media first. As he juggled a delicate lineup centered on the injury-scarred primes of Kawhi and Paul George, Lou was now tasked with responding to claims that the franchise's star was mired in fraud and facing scrutiny. His approach, while calm, betrayed a sense of discomfort over the looming questions about his top player. This controversy ran deeper than just one endorsement. The NBA has historically held concerns regarding Leonard's close associates. In the summer of 2019, following his championship triumph with the Toronto Raptors, various teams submitted official grievances citing inappropriate requests from his uncle and business manager, Dennis Robertson. The claims encompassed demands for equity stakes, real estate considerations, and additional financial perks. Back then, Commissioner Adam Silver initiated an investigation, but no evidence was uncovered, leading to the case's closure. Now, those doubts have come back to light. The Aspiration Agreement clearly identified Robertson as Leonard's official agent, tasked with receiving all legal documents for KL2 Aspire LLC. This setup echoed the issues pointed out in 2019, which suggested that Robertson was negotiating benefits off the books linked directly to Leonard's contract renewals and free agency. The central inquiry became whether Steve Balmer, the billionaire owner of the Clippers, had indirectly sent funds to Leonard via Aspiration. Former employees at Aspiration informed Tory that the process essentially constituted a money loop. Balmer's funds entered Aspiration, were validated through the Clippers sponsorship, and then returned to Leonard as endorsement earnings. The setup circumvented the salary cap while still looking like separate business dealings. The purpose of the NBA's salary cap framework is to stop exactly this. Under Article 3 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement, any undisclosed compensation is strictly banned. Teams must not offer players perks that are not documented in contracts that count against the cap. Even small benefits, such as complimentary tickets for relatives, upscale vehicles, or covered housing, are not allowed unless they are clearly stated in league-sanctioned agreements. Commissioner Silver has consistently labeled cap circumvention as a severe violation that undermines competitive fairness. In response, the NBA acted swiftly. On September 3rd, it announced the engagement of an external legal firm believed to be Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz, the same firm involved in the inquiries into Donald Sterling and Robert Sarver, to spearhead the investigation. This probe centered on three key issues: whether Balmer's $50 million investment was connected to Leonard's endorsement deal, if Robertson's negotiations amounted to illegal third-party payments, and whether the Clippers organization was aware of or supported the arrangement. Balmer has refuted any allegations of misconduct, claiming he was deceived. On September 5th, a group of individuals engaged in deceitful practices. How could I possibly perceive this? They tricked me. He conveyed to ESPN that Balmer's argument hinges on a few critical points. Initially, he claims that every transaction was conducted independently and followed the correct sequence. In August 2021, the Clippers extended Leonard's contract before any collaboration discussions arose. It was only afterward that Aspiration reached out for a sponsorship agreement, and upon finalizing that, they sought to connect with Leonard for an endorsement opportunity. Our agreement with Kawhi was finalized independently of those events, before he even met these individuals. We secured our contract first, demonstrating true integrity. We forged our agreement with Aspiration. As Balmer recounts, Aspiration approached the Clippers seeking a sponsorship agreement that matched the team's sustainability objectives. They proposed an impressive figure exceeding $300 million for a 23-year collaboration, an opportunity too enticing to ignore. Balmer was especially intrigued since he was already dedicated to ensuring the new Tuitt Dome was carbon neutral, viewing Aspiration as the ideal ally for this initiative. I'm in submission. According to Balmer, the personal investment occurred subsequently and was driven by a distinct business choice, after he analyzed what he later realized were deceitful financial reports. He pointed out that his $50 million stake resulted in under 3% ownership, with neither seat on the board nor any operational authority. Essentially, I had no influence over the company. In fact, even at the time of my investment, there was an individual who contributed 6 times more capital than I did. No influence whatsoever. That's perfectly fine. Regarding the meeting between Leonard and Aspiration, Balmer insisted it was merely a standard business formality. NBA regulations permit teams to connect players with sponsors. He noted that as long as the team refrains from engaging in any endorsement negotiations, the introduction took place in early November 2021, long after all previous agreements were settled. Crucially, Balmer asserted he was entirely unaware of the specifics of Leonard's arrangement with Aspiration. He claims he was completely unaware of the contract's no-show aspect or the exact figures tied to it. The heart of Balmer's argument hinges on him being deceived by a sophisticated scam executed by the leadership of Aspiration. Co-founder Joseph Sandberg has, in fact, admitted guilt for swindling investors out of more than $248 million through forged financial records and misleading performance indicators to secure funding. I went over everything again, and my team mainly focused on the financials. Should I have detected this? I might feel a bit ashamed and somewhat foolish for not catching it, but I certainly didn't. Balmer notes that he wasn't the sole savvy investor duped by misleading promises. Other prominent investors and financiers also invested heavily in the company, relying on those same deceitful documents. The scheme was intricate enough to mislead several parties performing due diligence. The Clippers organization supported Balmer's defense in their formal statement. Mr. Balmer and the Clippers did not breach the salary cap nor partake in any unethical practices regarding Aspiration. Any claims to the contrary are demonstrably untrue. The organization highlights that they terminated their partnership with Aspiration in the 2022-23 season due to the company's failure to meet its sponsorship responsibilities. They also affirm their full cooperation with all inquiries, including those by federal agencies probing Aspirations for fraud. In comparison, Leonard kept quiet. Both he and Robertson ignored messages and questions from the media. This absence of statements sparked theories suggesting it was Robertson, not Leonard, who had orchestrated the deal. Former finance officials expressed that Robertson was the top priority, insisting Leonard's payments were settled before any other responsibilities. Every week, discussions occurred on payment distribution, with the quiet lender's contract consistently prioritized for payment during these gatherings. Despite facing extreme financial difficulties, why? We received several explanations. One notable reason was that Uncle Dennis was reaching out. Hold on, this is really Uncle Dennis. Uncle Dennis reached out and made me a deal. It was top priority, you know. At the same time, Tyronn Lue was fielding inquiries about the implications of the scandal on his squad. The Clippers were already having a hard time staying competitive with Leonard and George frequently injured. Now, the looming threat of penalties like forfeited draft picks or annulled contracts risked completely sidelining the franchise. Past events highlighted the potential dangers. Back in 2015, the Clippers faced a $250,000 penalty for offering improper incentives when trying to recruit DeAndre Jordan. Later, in 2019, the Pelicans were hit with a $10 million fine for tampering regarding Zion Williamson. In more severe instances, the league has even annulled contracts entirely. Experts suggested that should there be proof connecting Balmer's investment to Leonard's agreement, the NBA might contemplate nullifying Leonard's contract, a drastic measure that could dramatically reshape the Clippers' future. With the NBA's investigation ramping up, Tyronn Lue found himself under increasing scrutiny. His squad was set to kick off the 2025-26 season amid looming threats of sanctions, reputational harm, and unceasing media buzz. Leonard's lack of comment positioned Lue as the primary spokesperson addressing inquiries regarding a controversy he didn't help generate, marking a shift from safeguarding to skepticism, as outsiders interpreted the scandal through a vastly different lens. The broader context, however, detractors are dismissing Balmer's portrayal as an unwitting target. The sequence of events and the situation itself prompted numerous alarms from many onlookers, making it hard to accept this as mere bad luck. I genuinely feel that he did not assist his case in any way. On the contrary, he ended up damaging himself further. If anything, he escalated the issue significantly. If the toilet man believed he could sway us into believing his innocence, he couldn't be more mistaken. Our doubt is warranted, especially given the striking number of alleged coincidences. A wealthy tycoon pumps in $50 million into a firm, which then shells out $28 million to his top athlete for no apparent reason. Yet he insists he was oblivious to it all. The numbers alone are puzzling. Balmer's investment closely mirrors the total compensation received by Leonard. Critics have raised eyebrows over the reasoning behind Leonard, a figure famed for his withdrawn nature and scarce endorsement deals, being valued at $28 million by any firm, especially one facing financial hardships. Leonard seldom grants interviews, barely engages on social media, and has a track record of rejecting enticing endorsement offers. With $48 million on the table for a spokesperson, nearly anyone with a decent public appeal could be secured. So, why choose someone perceived as lacking in charisma? The question remains, why him? The defense grapples with the question of why Aspiration would hand over such a large amount to Leonard if their aim was merely to defraud investors. If the company were indeed running a con, wouldn't they have opted to retain the funds rather than distribute them to someone offering no return? Moreover, it's important to consider that even if Balmer wasn't the one to execute the scheme, his involvement might still breach NBA regulations. The league salary cap rules are specifically established to prevent this type of indirect compensation, irrespective of intent. Analysts have remarked that Leonard's case could rival past incidents in terms of seriousness. And for him, the ramifications went far beyond just financial repercussions. Renowned for his taciturn nature and athletic prowess, Leonard had crafted a reputation centered on self-discipline and thrift. However, Tory's inquiry uncovered inconsistencies. The athlete who stressed over misplacing Wingstop vouchers had inked a $28 million contract with minimal obligations. Yet, beyond the immediate repercussions for the Clippers or the fallout for Kawhi Leonard's standing, this controversy prompts critical reflections on the current state of the NBA's framework and integrity. The league has transitioned into an era where players hold significant sway in team management, free agency decisions, and economic matters. This case implies that such a power arrangement might have opened doors for intricate evasion tactics that standard regulatory methods fail to identify. Reflect on Leonard's journey with the Clippers in a wider perspective. Since his arrival in 2019, he has participated in less than 60% of the regular season contests, hampered by injuries and load management strategies. Nonetheless, the franchise has persistently put his satisfaction above winning matches or nurturing other athletes. Should the aspiration payments be verified, it would epitomize this scenario, awarding a player substantial sums without any return. However, perhaps the most alarming aspect of this situation is what it indicates about the current state of salary cap regulation effectiveness. If a convoluted plan as costly as this could function undetected for years, what other breaches might be taking place throughout the league? The NBA's salary cap framework is deeply rooted in trust and relies on voluntary adherence. Yet is only a modest amount of resources allocated to revealing intricate evasion tactics. The competitive equilibrium of the league has faced increasing pressure lately, as select large market franchises consistently outpace their competitors despite salary cap limitations. Teams like the Lakers, Warriors, and Clippers have significantly surpassed the luxury tax cap, essentially viewing fines as a mere expense of their operations. If affluent owners are able to bypass the salary cap via innovative third-party schemes, the entire framework of competitive equity risks disintegration. As the Clippers, we have adhered to the regulations regarding salary cap avoidance because it aligns with our principles. We have maintained this stance. For what it's worth, I believe this. The results of the investigation will probably impact the next phase of collective bargaining discussions between the league and the players' union. Team owners could advocate for tougher enforcement policies and wider interpretations of circumvention, whereas players might oppose increased supervision that threatens their income and business ventures. Concurrently, the scandal unveiled deeper concerns regarding greenwashing, celebrity involvement, and financial deception. Aspiration positioned itself as an eco-friendly alternative to major banks, claiming to plant billions of trees and reduce carbon emissions. However, prosecutors disclosed that fewer than 5% of promised funds were actually directed towards environmental initiatives. Celebrity endorsements, ranging from DiCaprio to Drake, have been utilized to create an illusion of credibility, hiding a scheme reminiscent of a Ponzi operation. Leonard's absence deal emerged as a notable case in point. Millions allocated for discretion. The ripple effects reached far past the realm of basketball. The controversy weakened confidence in ESG, environmental and social governance investing, leading to FTC investigations into other fintech companies touting green credentials. It highlighted the troubling intersections of affluent proprietors, star athletes, and deceptive startups, threatening to disrupt both financial and sports sectors. Currently, the investigation into the NBA is still in progress. Officials from the league have assured updates will come by the halfway mark of the season, yet no definitive conclusions have been issued. Leonard has chosen not to comment. Robertson sidesteps inquiries. Balmer maintains his stance as a victim. The Clippers navigate through a fog of unpredictability. Their fate hinges not just on injuries and game results, but also on the results of ongoing legal and regulatory challenges. The resolution of the scandal remains to be seen. Should the NBA find proof connecting Balmer's stake to Leonard's compensation, the repercussions could be among the severest in league history. Conversely, if that isn't the case, the Clippers might only face fines and tarnish public image. Regardless, the situation has significantly altered views on the franchise, its leading athlete, and its proprietor. If you like this video, hit one of the boxes displayed on your screen to explore more related content.